Hey guys, alrighty, welcome back to video number 4, and we are going to start right where we left off with the last video. So I'm going to tune you into my little board, and at the top you'll need a paper and a pencil if you have one handy. If not, put me on pause and get one, and write this word at the top, Bunny. Okay. When you've got that done, you can go ahead and number your paper. Through 5. Okay. Now, we are going to be spelling some more words, so let's put that 3-dotted line up at the top or somewhere on your paper to help you. Okay. Alrighty. Now, if you remember correctly, this is our keyword bunny that helps us remember that Y at the end can say E and become a vowel. Okay? And it usually says E at the end of a longer word where you have another vowel sound, another syllable with it. Okay? So we are going to use this keyword and we're going to spell some other words with the same sound and pattern where the Y says E at the end of a longer word. Okay, now I did say longer words. So just like we read those bigger words, we're going to spell our bigger words in parts or syllables. Okay, then we can spell those syllables just like little words using those same rules about vowels and then put those syllables together for the bigger word. Now it's easier to spell in syllables because we can pound them out. So let's start with the first one. It is madly. Pound it. Madly. 2 syllables. Let's do just the first syllable, mad. Let's go up to our 3-dotted line. Let's say it slowly. Sound it out. Mad. Sound out as you need to. Okay, put me on pause, then check back in with me. You spell the word mad. I'm sorry, just that first syllable. Spell it. What do you hear in it? Pause me, check back in with me. Okay, if you spelled it M-A-D, then you are correct. Here's mad. Okay, now let's do the second syllable and add that on. It's O-E-Lee. What 2 letters do we hear in that last syllable? And think about how we're going to spell that E at the end, just like in our keyword. Okay, you spell it. Pause me. Check back in with me. Hey, if you spelled it L-Y, you are absolutely correct. This is the word madly, and that Y says E at the end of this bigger word. Okay? Like the 2 Valentines loved each other madly. Alrighty, let's go to our next one. Okay, and our next one is crispy. So let's pound it. Crispy. 2 syllables. Let's do the first one. Okay, say it slowly. Sound out as you need to. Chris. Okay, Chris. Pause me, then check back in with me and see if you spelled it correctly. And remember, we start so that's a blend. I need 2 letters for the first sound. Okay, if you spelled it C-R-I-S, then you are correct. There's Chris. Now let's do the second syllable. What do we hear in it? E-P. Okay, so what 2 letters do you hear in that second syllable? Spell it. Remember how we're going to make the E at the end. Pause me. Check back in with me. If you put P-Y, you are absolutely correct. This is the word crispy, and that Y says E at the end of this bigger word. Okay? Now, one little note here. Make sure you're not leaving spaces between your syllables. You're just putting them together for that bigger word. Okay? Alrighty, let's do our next one. And our next one is pansy. Let's pound it. Pansy. Pansy. 2 syllables. Let's do just the first one. Say it slowly. Sound out as you need to. P-a-n. Pan. Again. P-a-n. Pan. Okay? Spell that first syllable. Write down those letters you hear. Pause me. Check back in with me. Okay, if you spelled it P-A-N, you are correct. Okay, there's pan. Let's do the second syllable, C. What 2 letters do we hear in it? S-E, C. Okay, and remember how we're going to make that E at the end. Okay, spell that last syllable, add it on, pause me, check back in with me. Okay, if you spelled that last syllable, S-Y, then you are absolutely correct. This is pansy, okay? And that Y says E at the end of this bigger word. And a pansy like this is like a flower, okay? A pansy can be a flower. Let's go to the next one. The next one is chunky. Pound it, chunk-y, chunky. 2 syllables. Let's do just the first one. Say it slowly, sound out as you need to. Unk, chunk. Okay? Spell that first syllable, write down the letters you hear. Unk, chunk. Pause me, check back in with me. Okay, if you spelled it C-H-U-N-K, then you're absolutely correct. Remember that U and K all together can say unk. Okay? And then, of course, if we want to add the last syllable E, it's just that Y, saying E at the end of the longer word. Same pattern as our keyword. Okay? So all together, this is chunky. Let's do our last one. It's ivy. Pound it. I-V. 2 syllables. Do just the first one. I. Just one sound and one letter. What do you hear? I. If you wrote an I, you're correct. Okay, it's just long I on its own. Let's do the second syllable, V. Let's think about what we hear. Just 2 letters, V-E-V. Okay, you spell that last syllable, write down the letters you hear, pause me, check back in with me. If you put V-Y, you're absolutely correct. This makes ivy, and the Y says E at the end of that bigger word. Okay? So this is what we have. Easy. Okay? With bigger words, you can spell them in those parts or syllables. Okay? And then put them together for that bigger word. And what's the pattern that we have here? We have the Y at the end of these longer words becoming a vowel saying E, just like in our keyword bunny. Okay? Alrighty. You will have a phonics quiz with Mrs. Terrell. And on that quiz, you will have words where you're going to have E or I at the end. And all of them are going to be spelled with the Y because that's the pattern we practiced this week. Y at the end becoming a vowel saying E or I. So when you have your phonics quiz, all of those words will be spelled correctly with that Y at the end. Okay? Alrighty, let's close out of this and let's see if we can read these words quickly, okay? If we can spell it and write it, we can read it. Just blend the sounds and read it again. This is madly. Repeat it with me. Madly. Crispy. Repeat it with me. Crispy. Pansy. Repeat it with me. Pansy. Chunky. Repeat it with me. Chunky. Ivy. Repeat it with me. Ivy. Okay? And ivy, just like pansy, is another kind of like flower. Okay? Alrighty, or a plant. Alrighty. Good enough with that. Okay? You can put your paper off to the side. And we're going to finish up our little study of the I. And I just have a few more words. And these are some bigger words, but we're not going to worry about labeling and all of that stuff. I've already circled the syllables inside, so we're just going to read them together. So let's do it. This would be sat, is fi. Together, satisfy. Now, whoa ho ho, you might be thinking, oh no, there's Y at the end, and we said Y at the end usually says E at the end of a longer word when there are other vowel sounds with it. But that is true for most of the words you're going to read in first grade, all right, like puppy and happy. But as you move along and things get more complicated, you can have Y at the end of a longer word saying I. So it just comes down to trying those different vowel sounds. This can't be satisfy, so you know it has to be satisfy. And this is a cool word because you can see those syllables that can be actual little words inside the bigger word like sat and is, or nonsense words like fi. And when we read those, we put them together and have the bigger word. Okay? Alrighty. And remember, that key with that bigger word is the different vowel sounds, because that bigger word is going to have more than one vowel sound, and each syllable or part has its own. And they go together like little words to make the bigger word. Okay, enough of that. Let's take a look at this one. And let's read this one. This one is crying, crying. And you're going, oh, 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 there is Y. It might be in the middle of this bigger word, but look, it comes at the end of a syllable. So it's the same rule, just like a little word inside that bigger word. That Y can say I at the end and become a vowel. And we know this is crying because we wouldn't say creeing. Okay? So Y in the middle of the word a lot of times can still be a vowel because it comes at the end of a syllable. Next one. Let's read it together. This is baby, sit together. Babysit. Ah, there's the Y. It might be in the middle of this bigger word, but it's at the end of a syllable. So it's the same rule. Just like a little word inside this bigger word, that Y can make, or that Y can say E at the end and become a vowel. And we know it has to be babysit because we would not say baby-sit. So again, there's Y in the middle of the word, a lot of times still being a vowel because it comes at the end of a syllable. Okay. And then finally, let's read this one. Beyond. Beyond. Oh, there's Y in the middle. It might be in the middle of this bigger word, but it becomes at the beginning of that last syllable. So just like a little word inside that bigger word, that Y can make its consonant sound Y at the beginning. So again, this is beyond. A lot of times Y in the middle is that vowel, but in a few words it can be a consonant because it comes at the beginning of a syllable. Alrighty, that is the trick with the Y, okay? Thinking of all those different sounds it can make and using those right sounds to get the right word. But it doesn't have to be complicated because you always think about what sounds right and makes sense. Like here, you would not say I ride my bicycle or bicycle or bicycle or however you might sound this out. When you're stuck, think about what sounds right and makes sense. Now, put me on pause and then check back in with me. Think about what this word would be. Yep, if you said I ride my bicycle, you are absolutely correct. Okay? And there's Y in the middle. And it actually sounds like a short I, bicycle. But don't get flustered with all of that. Think about what sounds right makes sense as you try those different sounds to get the right word. This has to be I ride my bicycle. That's what sounds right makes sense. See you in the last video.